It's been a fairly busy week for Microsoft and the Xbox Series X. The company has released a full hardware spec for the next-gen console, confirming such rumored features as the 1TB expansion card. It also noted the target performance for the console being 4K resolution at 60 frames per second with the potential for up to 120 frames per second. Other features include 12 teraflops of GPU performance on a custom RDNA 2 GPU with 52 CUs running at 1.825 GHz. Included memory is 16GB GDDR6 with a 320 MB bus and a memory bandwidth of 10 GB at 560 GB per second and 6 GB at 336 GB per second. Microsoft has released some new videos for the Xbox Series X, one comparing the loading time on State of Decay 2 with the Xbox One X, and the other serving as a tech demo for the Quick Resume feature. The first is fairly straightforward, but still incredibly impressive. State of Decay 2 only takes 9 to 10 seconds to load on the Series X compared to roughly 50 seconds on the Xbox One X. Quick Resume looks arguably more intriguing. It's possible to queue up multiple games, suspend them, and pick up where you left off before. A slight delay can be seen for something like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, but it's early days yet. Of course, it'd be more interesting to see how the technology fares when handling Xbox Series X exclusives. Adds HDR to backwards compatible games. In a recent report on Digital Foundry that dove deep into the specs for the Xbox Series X, Microsoft revealed some very interesting things about backwards compatibility. Xbox One titles would benefit from the full power of the Series X, allowing for significant boosts to visuals. Gears of War Ultimate Edition was given as an example, running at native 4K. However, the hardware could also add HDR to backwards compatible titles that don't even support it. It uses an algorithm derived from the HDR technology in Gears 5 and involves boosting an image's peak brightness to up to 1000 nits. The end result is games like Halo 5 Guardians and Fusion Frenzy running in HDR. Microsoft ATG principal software engineer Claude Moraes stated that, quote, "It can be applied to all games theoretically. Technically, I guess we're still working through user experiences and things like that, but this is a technical demo. So this, Halo 5, is 4 years old, right? So let's go to the extreme and jump to a game that is 19 or 20 years old right now. And that is Fusion Frenzy. Back then, there's nothing known about HDR. No one knew about HDR things. Games just used 8-bit back buffers." End quote. The feature works for pretty much every game in the Xbox lineup, but it also leads to other benefits. Quote, "Let's look at accessibility. If you have people that cannot read well or see well, you probably want to enhance contrast when there's a lot of text on screen. We can easily do that. We talked to someone that's colorblind this morning, and that's a great example. We just switch on the LUT and we can change colors for them to more easily experience the announcement there." End quote. It's mighty impressive, especially when used in conjunction with Smart Delivery, which allows for owners of Xbox One titles to receive a free upgrade for playing on Xbox Series X. Microsoft has yet to reveal how many of its games will benefit from Smart Delivery, but the Coalition's Gears 5 was recently confirmed for the same. Speaking of which, Gears 5 will support Smart Delivery. In a full hands-on feature with Eurogamer and Digital Foundry, we've learned more about the Xbox One titles being ported over to the Xbox Series X. The Coalition's Gears 5 is one of them, making use of Microsoft DirectX ray tracing. The Coalition technical director Mike Rayner, who also worked on Gears 5, said the team was, quote, "super excited for DXR and the hardware ray tracing support. We have some compute-based ray tracing in Gears 5, we have ray trace shadows, and the new screen space global illumination is a form of ray trace screen-based GI, and so we're interested in how the ray tracing hardware can be used to take techniques like this and then move them out to utilizing the DXR cores." End quote. Even more impressive is how the Xbox Series X conversion for Gears 5 only took 2 weeks. With some help from Epic Games, the team had Unreal Engine 4 working on the console, increased all graphical qualities to the PC equivalent of Ultra, used the engine's new ray trace screen space global illumination, and brought in contact shadows. All of this in the port still managed to run at a rock-solid 60 frames per second. The publication noted that benchmark results on this port, described as unoptimized, offered performance that is, quote, "very, very similar," end quote, to that of NVIDIA RTX 2080. Rayner also confirmed that Gears 5 would support Smart Delivery, so Xbox One players who already own the title will get a free Xbox Series X version at launch. Quote, "I think relative to where we're at and just looking at our experience with the hardware with this particular game, I think we're really positive to kind kind of see how this thing is performing, especially knowing how much untapped performance is still there in the box based on the work we've done so far." End quote. Other titles currently confirmed to support smart delivery on Xbox Series X include CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk 2077. The Xbox Velocity Architecture. Microsoft have built a new way to closely integrate the software and hardware components of the new console so that developers can stream tons of in-game assets without much hassle. Quote, "The CPU is the brain of our new console and the GPU is the heart, but the Xbox Velocity architecture is the soul," end quote, said Andrew Goosen, technical fellow on Xbox Series X at Microsoft. Quote, "The Xbox Velocity architecture is about so much more than fast load times. It's one of the most innovative parts of our new console. It's about revolutionizing how games can create vastly bigger, more compelling worlds," end quote. This will allow developers to develop seamless, richer, and bigger open-world games for exploration. Expandable storage explained. USB 3.2 hard drives supported. Microsoft confirmed in its full reveal of the Xbox Series X specifications that it would have a port for adding a 1TB expansion card. This would match the console's own 1TB NVMe SSD, but that's not all. In a blog post covering various technology terms for the console, Microsoft revealed that this solution was created in partnership with Seagate. USB 3.2 external hard disk drives can still be attached to the console, but it's advised to natively install Xbox Series X titles onto the NVMe SSD or the expansion card. This is in order, quote, "to receive all the benefits of the Xbox Velocity architecture and optimal performance," end quote, that the console provides. Pricing for these expansion cards remains to be seen, but they likely won't be cheap. The new controller. Over on Xbox Wire, the company published an interview detailing some of the biggest changes they're making to the gamepad, while also showing it off in a round of new images. One of the most notable changes in the Xbox Series X's controller from the Xbox One is the D-pad, which now bears a cross design on top of a plate of sorts. Ryan Whitaker, senior designer at Xbox, says the D-pad is, quote, "about boosting performance and accessibility for all the ways people play," end quote. The, quote, "crisp," end quote, directional buttons ensure players can input precise directional commands, while the faceted dish allows for sweep actions and diagonal directional inputs. It is, in Whitaker's words, quote, "a hybrid to deliver the best of both," end quote. Cross-compatibility across various devices, be it the Xbox Series X, the Xbox One, your PC, or mobile devices to play via xCloud, is also something Microsoft have focused on and are giving assurances that the controller will have proper and smooth connectivity with all devices. Quote, "The new controller needs to work equally well on Xbox One, and pairing and moving between all these devices needs to be easy. This level of compatibility and connectivity has become the norm for devices and accessories. Increasingly, the controller will be the common touchpoint to your Xbox games across devices. It's the one consistent piece of hardware in all these interconnected experiences, so we designed it to work that way," end quote. Reducing latency is something else that Microsoft seemed to have emphasized quite a bit with the new controller, thanks to something called dynamic latency input, which, according to Whitaker, will, quote, "shave off precious milliseconds at every step of gameplay," end quote. Quote, "We're introducing a system-wide set of improvements we call dynamic latency input, or DLI, which includes specific technology in the console and the HDMI connection to your TV, and it all starts with the controller. Essentially, information is sent more frequently from the controller and matched with exact frames of your game on screen. The result? We shave off precious milliseconds at every step of gameplay, and actions are even more instantaneous," end quote. Speaking on the new share button, which was actually revealed back in December, Whitaker said that it will make it, quote, "easy to just grab a screenshot or record a video without needing on-screen menus," end quote, before adding, quote, "then you can easily access and share content with your favorite social platforms or directly with friends," end quote. Microsoft have in the past also had special textures on parts of their controllers with special editions in the past, but they're making that standard as they move into next gen, with the new controller featuring, quote, "a tactile dot pattern on the triggers and bumpers which provides grip to improve feel and performance during gameplay," end quote. A, quote, "similar yet more subtle pattern," end quote, will also be on the controller's grips. Direct storage. As you are aware, the Xbox Series X is going to use a high-end SSD to drastically reduce in-game load times. But Microsoft aren't stopping there, as they've developed a new I/O system called Direct Storage that will work in conjunction with the Xbox Velocity architecture to speed asset streaming of the in-game world while using only a fraction of a single CPU core, thereby reducing CPU overhead. DirectML. Yet another new addition to the DirectX family, DirectML will utilize machine learning by benefiting from 24 teraflops of 16-bit float performance and over 97 TOPS (trillion operations per second) of 4-bit integer performance on Xbox Series X. This new tech will improve various aspects of game building, such as NPCs with better AI and animations. Hardware decompression. Yet another feature of the Xbox Velocity architecture, hardware decompression will ensure that games occupy as little space as possible. Furthermore, it will also reduce CPU overhead by completely eliminating runtime decompression so that games can use that freed CPU core for improving gameplay experience in terms of frame rate and performance. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, please hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to switch on the notifications bell icon next to it. That way you'll never miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching.